Welcome all. Today we shall discuss the Keynesian model when we include the government. Well, in my last few lectures, we have already discussed the Keynesian model, but it was a closed economy without government. Now, in this model, we will be incorporating the government. So, how national income will be determined by using Keynesian model when government is included, that we shall be discussing in this lecture. After finishing this lecture, a very important part we shall be discussing, that is inflationary and deflationary gap. Okay, so let's start with the first part of today's lecture, that determination of national income equilibrium by using simple Keynesian model when government is included. How national income will be determined when the government is included. So let's start. Now, before starting with this model, so there are certain assumptions. So let us start with those assumptions first. So assumptions of this model, that the first assumptions that there is no transfer payment or transfer income. There is no transfer payment. There is no transfer payment or transfer income. Okay, so there is no transfer payment or transfer income. Now, what does it mean? What is the meaning of the transfer payment and income? Now, the transfer payment and income means that when a person earns something without contributing anything, if a person earns something, then that income is called the transfer income. Take an example. Suppose a retired person, government employees, after his retirement, he is getting pension from the government. So the pension will be his transfer income, because while he is getting the pension, he is not contributing anything. In return, he is not doing anything, but he is getting the pension. Another example of the transfer income is the unemployment dole. So those who are unemployed, they are getting some amount of money from the government, which is called the unemployment dole. In this way, that widow dole, scholarships, there are a lot of examples of the transfer income. Now, who is receiving this money? That is called the transfer income, that is his or her income. And those who are paying this one, for example, government is paying, that is called the transfer payment. Here, we have assumed there is no transfer payment or transfer income. That means government is not paying any kind of pensions or scholarships or unemployment dole. These are the things. Okay. Number two, second assumption. The second assumption is that there is only one form of tax is present. Only one form of tax is present. That is the lump sum tax. That is the lump sum tax. Okay. What is the lump sum tax? That means only one form of the tax is present, that is the lump sum tax. What is the lump sum tax? Lump sum tax means when all the tax paying are paying the same amount or the equal amount of taxes, irrespective of their level of income. Whatever the income they earn, whatever be that, someone may earn more, someone may earn less, but everybody will pay the same amount of taxes. Just take an example of these lump sum taxes. Suppose while crossing the toll plaza, we are paying the taxes, toll taxes. Okay, we are paying the toll taxes. So suppose that the 200 rupees toll taxes we have to pay. So whether some vehicle owner earn 5 lakhs rupees per month or 1 lakh rupees per month, they have to pay the same amount of toll taxes. So that means that the tax, everybody is paying the same amount of taxes irrespective of their income. This is called the lump sum taxes. So here we assume that only one form of tax is present, that is the lump sum tax. Okay? Okay, now come to the third assumptions, that government spending is exogenously determined. Government spending is exogenously determined. Exogenously determined. Now, what is the exogenously determined means? Exogenous variable means that variable which is not affected by other variables in the model or system. I repeat once again, the exogenous means, exogenous variable, that means a kind of variable that is not affected by any other variable in the system or the model. And generally, that exogenous variable are fixed. That means here the government expenditure, it is not affected by any other variables. Like the consumption can be affected by income, or the, let's say, the savings that can be affected by income. So consumption, savings, these are all the endogenous variable. When it is affected by other variables within the system, that is called endogenous variable. And exogenous variable means a variable which is not affected by the other variables in the system, but outside. Now, generally, it is fixed. That so here, government expenditure, what the amount of money which the government is spending, that we keep it fixed amount. It is fixed. Okay. So government expenditure here, it is fixed, right? So we think, and another one, the fourth assumption that we consider, that the fourth assumption is it is a closed economy. It is a closed economy. It is a closed economy. Fourth assumption. So if it is a closed economy, that means there is no exports, no imports. So no export. Therefore, export, import, these are all zero. These are all zero. There's no export, no import. It's a closed economy. So I hope these assumptions are clear to you. That now, if it is clear, so let us move with the model how the national income equilibrium will be determined here. Okay. So let's see. Let's start with this. Okay. So what the national income equilibrium condition? So national income NI equilibrium condition is aggregate supply is equal to aggregate demand. AD equal to S. This is the national income equilibrium condition. Now that aggregate supply, that is denoted by Y, and aggregate demand will be that here AD is equal to C plus I plus G. Okay, because we have incorporated the government expenditure, government here, so that we will be incorporating G term, but not X and N, because it is a closed economy. So here we can write the C plus I plus G. Okay. Now look at this one where here what is the C? C, what we have written, that A plus C means A plus BY. Now here instead of the Y, we will be using the term YD. Okay. Let's see the difference between the Y and YD. YD is called the disposable income. I repeat once again, YD is called disposable income. Now, what is the meaning of disposable income? Disposable income means that income minus taxes. T stands for the taxes. For example, suppose that a person earns that 10,000 rupees per month. A person earns 10,000 rupees per month. That is his income 10,000 rupees. And the government is imposing taxes. That is for income taxes. Let's say that government is imposing the 500 rupees taxes. So that person is paying taxes 500 rupees. 500 rupees taxes. Okay. So how much amount of income he actually can spend or dispose? That 9,500 rupees. That means although his income is 10,000 rupees, but he cannot dispose or spend 10,000 rupees. How much he can dispose? How much he can spend? Actually, he can spend 9,500. How do you get it? The income minus the tax which he paid to the government. Okay, that is the meaning of the disposable income. Since in this model we have incorporated the government, so there will be tax also. So the tax is deducted from the level of income, and that would be the disposable income. So instead of Y, we incorporated here YD. Clear this one? Now the next one, that our I and G, this part will remain same as it is. That I means we say that I bar here, that our autonomous investment, and G means a G bar. So let's say I here, I bar, and G say G bar. Okay. So what would be this one if we put all this value here in this equation? This is our Y. So therefore Y is equal to, that C means this, A plus dy, dy means Y minus T plus I. Say I bar, G is a G bar. Okay. Now what we can do, that we can transfer this dy to this side. If we transfer this one, it will be 1 minus dy and A minus B plus I bar plus G bar. Okay. A minus dt plus I bar plus G bar. So Y equal to will be, what will be the Y equal to then? In our Y is equal to, therefore Y is equal to that 1 by 1 minus B, and here remains A minus bt plus I bar plus G bar. This one. Okay. So this is greater than 0. This will be always greater than 0. So this is the equilibrium level of national income. Now, if we know the amount of taxes, if we know the investment expenditure, if we know the government expenditure, then we can easily determine the level of national income. Why? We can easily determine. So, and this will be always greater than 0. So, let us take one very small numerical example, that let that C is equal to 100 plus 0.75y. Okay. And I, autonomous investment, I bar is given that rupees 200 crore. Okay. And G, that is a government expenditure, or say that G is equal to say 100 crore. Okay. This is okay. And this is the G, and this a tax is also government amount of government expenditure and tax. Let's say both are the same. Okay. So now if we put all those values, then Y will be equal to what? That we putting all this value here. So putting this value, C means this C plus I plus GC 100 plus 0.75 is Y is C plus I 200 plus G 100. Okay. So now if we transfer this one, that would be 1 minus 0.75y and add this would be 100 plus 200 y minus, this is c. There's one thing we must do, that this y is how much y, this is the, okay, see here, this one would be yd, disposable income, because it is a tax is there, government is imposing taxes, so it is yd is given. So y is equal to 100 plus 0.75 y minus t plus, this is 300 I g 300. So y equal to 400 plus 0.75. This is y minus t is also 100 because t and t both are the same value. Now transfer this one minus 0.75y. This would be 75. 400 minus 75, 325. That means y is equal to 325 divided by 0.25. Okay. And if we do the calculation, this would be 1300. This crore. So the national income will be 1,300 crore once we know the value of that our IGT, then we can calculate the value of y. Okay. So this is the way that we can determine the national income where the government is included. Right. Now here, that another very important thing we need to know, that here we have to see the graphical representation of these, the data of this model, that when the government is included, then how the national income will be determined by using the graph. That is, see this one. Okay, this is a simple diagram we'll be drawing here. See that here we are considering aggregate supply, which is y, and here we will be considering aggregate demand. Okay. Now we need to draw the AD curve. AD curve is the summation of what? C, I, and G. AD curve. So we will be considering C curve, which is an upward sloping straight line with positive intercept but flatter than 45-degree line, that we have already discussed. I, investment, which is a autonomous investment, so which is a parallel to this axis. Okay, so that means this is the I equal to I bar, right? C, we know upward sloping. Okay. This is the C, then I. Combining these two, we are getting that C, I, and then G. Combining with this, we are getting AD curve like this. This AD curve is equal to C, I, and G. So AD curve is the summation of C, consumption expenditure, autonomous investment expenditure, and autonomous government expenditure. These three. Okay. Now aggregate supply curve, that will be a 45-degree straight line, the 45-degree line. 45-degree line is the aggregate supply curve. Is so these two curves intersect at this point, so this will be called the equilibrium point. So from the equilibrium point, we can determine the equilibrium level of national income, Y. Okay, is it clear this one? We can determine the equilibrium level of national income. Now, you know that we need to explain the stability analysis also. In my last few lectures also, we have seen that whenever we explain the equilibrium we have to explain the stability. Whether this equilibrium is a stable equilibrium or not, that we need to explain. How to explain? What I said, that what is called the stable equilibrium? An equilibrium is said to be a stable equilibrium after deviating from its original position. If over the time it once again come back to its original position, then that equilibrium is called the stable equilibrium. Otherwise, it becomes unstable. So we need to check it that whether it is stable or not. Once again, the same method which I have already described in my previous lecture, that we have to consider, suppose national income is Y1, that OY1 is less than this OYE. And in this case, we can see that aggregate demand, this implies that aggregate demand is greater than aggregate supply. And if aggregate demand is greater than aggregate supply, then what the firms will do, they will produce more, production will be more, and if the more production, that means a more national income will generate, that means national income will increase, this increases. And if this increases, it will move to the right side. And this process will continue till it reaches to the equilibrium point E. This movement process will continue till it reaches to the equilibrium point E. So what happens that after deviation from its original point to this point, but over the time, slowly and gradually, it will come back to its original point. So this equilibrium, we can call it the stable equilibrium. With the same logic, that if we take that another income, say it's a Y2, that OY2 is greater than OYE. So in this case, what happens? Aggregate supply greater than aggregate demand. So the production will decrease because supply exceeds demand, means production will fall. And if the production will fall, then national income that will decrease. And this process will continue till it reaches to the point equilibrium. So whether it is either we look at from this side or we look at from that side, okay, but we'll once again come back to its original equilibrium point. So this is the stable equilibrium. I hope this concept is clear to you, that when we consider the government in our model, then how the national income is determined. Okay,